Welcome to another episode of Pipple Pod.
Glad to be here.
So I want you to imagine something for a second. Imagine you are like one of the most famous teenagers on the entire planet, and you're trapped inside this massive billion-dollar corporate empire.
Which sounds like a dream to some people, but it's really not.
Exactly, because this empire dictates literally everything. Your hair, your clothes, your sound, everything.
Right.
So how do you escape? Well, if you're the subject of our deep dive today, you don't just quietly walk away. You pick up a sledgehammer. You ride a literal wrecking ball through your own carefully crafted image, and you basically set the whole child star trap on fire.
It's the only way out, honestly.
It really is, and I want to paint a very specific picture for you to start this off. So the year is 2012. Our subject buys her fiancé a birthday cake, but it's shaped like a penis.
As one does in their 20s, right?
Right, totally normal joke for a private party. But someone snaps a photo of her licking the frosting, and the image hits the internet.
Yep.
And instantly, she gets fired from a multi-million-dollar voice acting role in the animated movie Hotel Transylvania.
Which is just wild to think about now.
Fired over a joke cake at a private party.
Yeah, I mean, that is the harsh reality of being a corporate asset masquerading as a human being. The stakes are just unimaginably high.
Yeah.
And the margins for error are basically non-existent. When you're the face of a family brand, you just don't have a private life at all.
So today, we are doing a deep dive into the sources to track this chaotic, incredible, and I think ultimately triumphant evolution of Miley Cyrus.
It is such a fascinating journey.
It is. I really want to figure out how someone actually survives the brutal machinery of child stardom. Like, how does a pop chameleon manage to dismantle her own identity and build something enduring without, completely destroying herself in the process?
Well, to understand the demolition, I think you first have to understand the foundation she was built on.
Right. Where did it all start?
And her foundation was surprisingly fraught, actually. So she was born in Franklin, Tennessee in 1992. But she wasn't born Miley. Her parents actually named her Destiny Hope.
Wait, Destiny Hope. I mean, that feels like a massive amount of pressure to just put on a baby right out of the gate.
Oh, totally. Her parents firmly believed she was meant to accomplish great things. But at the same time, she was born with this physical vulnerability, which was a heart condition called supraventricular tachycardia.
Wait, a heart condition?
Yeah, exactly.
I had no idea about that. For someone whose entire life became this, high-octane, non-stop performance machine, that seems intensely counterintuitive. How does that even affect a person?
Well, it basically causes an abnormal resting heart rate. So it's not necessarily life-threatening on a day-to-day basis, but it is this constant underlying stressor.
Oh, wow.
Right. It makes her stamina on those massive global tours later on all the more impressive.
For sure. But wait, so if her name was Destiny Hope, where did Miley come from?
Oh, the nickname actually came about because she smiled so much as an infant. So they called her Smiley. And Smiley just naturally shortened to Miley over time.
Okay, that's actually really cute.
It is.
But I do want to talk about the environment she grew up in. Because, from the outside looking in, it really looks like she was born on third base.
I mean, she definitely had connections.
Right, like her dad is country singer Billy Ray Cyrus. Her godmother is the legendary Dolly Parton. So isn't this really just a story of industry nepotism working exactly the way it's intended to?
You would completely assume that, right?
Yeah.
You'd think the path was just paved in gold for her. But the real pivotal moment wasn't orchestrated by her dad's record label at all.
Really?
No, it actually happened in Toronto in 2001. So Billy Ray took his 8-year-old daughter to see a stage production of Mamma Mia.
Okay.
And apparently, right there in the theater, she turned to him, grabbed his arm, and just announced she was going to be an actress.
Oh, wow. At 8 years old. So the ambition was just always there.
Exactly.
But how do you go from being a theater kid with a famous dad to, the absolute epicenter of pop culture? I just assume her dad picked up the phone and called Disney, right?
Far from it, actually. When she auditioned for this new Disney Channel series at age 13, she wasn't even gunning for the lead role. She auditioned to be the quirky best friend.
Wait, seriously?
Yep, and Disney executives rejected her outright at first.
No way.
They told her point blank that she was too small and too young to carry the network.
That is just fascinating. The most famous face in Disney Channel history was almost completely passed over. So how did she get them to change their minds? Did they just run out of other options?
Oh, they had thousands of options.
Yeah.
They had mostly these kids with highly polished child pageant training. But Miley had this goofy, completely uninhibited acting style. And she has surprisingly mature singing voice with this real Nashville twang.
Right, that raw country edge.
Exactly. It was that raw, unpolished vibe that convinced the producers to take a massive risk. So they ended up casting her as the lead, Miley Stewart, in what obviously became Hannah Montana.
Okay, let's pause here and really look at what Hannah Montana actually was, structurally speaking.
Let's do it.
Because I think people today remember it as just this cute TV show about a pop star. But the sources describe it as an unprecedented corporate mechanism.
Oh, it was a total masterclass in vertical integration.
Right.
Disney didn't just hire a young actress. They built an entire closed-loop ecosystem. The television character, the real-world actor, and the consumer products were all entirely fused into one entity.
Okay, break that down for me. Because how does vertical integration actually work when the core product is literally a human teenager?
Well, imagine a massive factory, right?
Yeah.
And every single department relies on one specific raw material.
Okay, I'm with you.
Disney had their television network broadcasting the show.
Mm.
Then they had Hollywood Records, which is a Disney subsidiary, releasing these multi-platinum soundtracks.
Right, of course.
Then they had a consumer products division pushing lunchboxes, dolls, clothing into every big box store on Earth. And on top of all that, they had the theme parks and the live touring division.
That is just overwhelming.
It was. She was actually the first act in the history of the Walt Disney Company to have active, highly lucrative deals across all of those sectors at the exact same time.
So basically, if she decides she wants to, like, cut her hair or take a month off because she's exhausted, she isn't just annoying a TV director. She is halting the assembly line for thousands of employees.
Yes.
She'd be jeopardizing billions of dollars in revenue.
Precisely. The demand for her time and her presence was just staggering. During her tours, Ticketmaster officials actually went on the record comparing the fan fervor to the Beatles or Elvis.
Okay, come on. The Beatles. I feel like that has to be exaggerated PR spin just to sell more concert tickets.
You might think so, but Paul McCartney himself endorsed the comparison.
Wait, really? Paul McCartney?
Yeah. He observed the way teenagers were screaming and identifying with her,
Oh.
and he noted it was the exact same shared elation and absolute devotion that crowds felt for the Beatles in the 1960s. The cultural grip was basically identical.
Wow. Okay, let me play devil's advocate here for a second, though.
Go for it.
It is a terrifying amount of pressure, sure, but she's getting global fame, unimaginable wealth, and this massive platform before she can even legally drive a car.
Right.
Isn't this the ultimate dream? Why is it framed in the sources as this golden cage or a trap in hindsight?
Because that corporate ecosystem demands total stasis. To keep that billion-dollar machine running smoothly, the core product, meaning her, cannot change.
I see.
Hannah Montana represented this highly sanitized, post-feminist, completely consumer-friendly identity. But Miley Cyrus was a real, breathing human being, transitioning from 13 to 18 years old.
Which is the messiest time in anyone's life.
Exactly. How do you experience puberty, teenage rebellion, or personal discovery when a publicly traded company requires you to stay 14 years old forever?
You just can't. You either repress all of it or you blow the whole thing up.
And she definitely chose the explosive route. The transition from Disney star to independent adult isn't as simple as just writing a different kind of song. You have to actively destroy the previous version of yourself.
And we really saw those cracks start to form around 2010. She drops an album called Can't Be Tamed, which had this much darker dance pop vibe.
Yeah.
And then there was that infamous leaked video of her smoking salvia out of a bong at age 18, which was a massive scandal at the time.
Huge scandal.
But I wonder, was it necessary to be so graphic? Like, couldn't she just quietly release a more mature indie record and let the audience grow up with her naturally?
Well, when your primary audience consists of 7-year-olds and their very protective parents, a subtle shift just goes unnoticed. You really need a sledgehammer.
Makes sense.
Which actually brings us back to that birthday cake you mentioned at the start of the show.
Right, the Hotel Transylvania incident.
So in 2012, she's cast as Mavis in Hotel Transylvania. She buys Liam Hemsworth that crude birthday cake. She licks it, the photos leak, and she gets fired.
I still don't fully understand the mechanics of that, though. Why does an animation studio care about a joke cake at a private party? She's not breaking any actual laws.
It all comes down to something called a morals clause.
Okay, what is that?
Most entertainers, especially those tied to family-friendly brands, have these clauses embedded deep in their contracts. A morals clause legally allows a company to terminate talent if they engage in any behavior that could reflect poorly on the brand's public image.
Oh, wow.
It is essentially an invisible corporate leash. So the studio deemed the cake photo a violation of their family-friendly standards.
So she is legally bound to act like a pristine Disney character, even in her off hours.
Basically, yeah.
That sounds completely suffocating.
It is, which is exactly why her subsequent rebellion was this highly calculated demolition. She realized she couldn't just slowly phase out the child star image.
Right.
She had to make herself completely unemployable by Disney standards so they would just stop trying to control her.
Which brings us right into 2013 and the Bangerz era.
Yes, Bangerz.
I do want to challenge this narrative a little bit, though, because she chops off her hair, she bleaches it into a pixie cut, and she starts using this heavy hip-hop and trap-pop sound.
Yep, completely different look and sound.
Right, but isn't she just trading the Disney playbook for the classic good girl gone bad industry cliche? Like, is she really in control here, or is she just following a different, edgier script to sell records?
That is the exact question media critics were asking at the time.
Yeah.
But you have to look at the specific business moves she made behind the scenes. She didn't just change her wardrobe. She completely overhauled her corporate infrastructure.
What do you mean?
Well, she hired Larry Rudolph as her manager.
Okay, why does that specific name matter?
Larry Rudolph is the manager who oversaw Britney Spears' transition from the Mickey Mouse Club to adult pop stardom.
Oh, wow.
Right. Miley specifically sought out the architect of the most successful child star transition in music history. She wasn't just stumbling in the dark or acting out randomly. She was executing a highly proven strategy.
Okay, that changes the context entirely. So when she gets up at the 2013 MTV Video Music Awards with that giant foam finger and she's twerking with Robin Thicke, that wasn't a mistake.
Not at all.
That was the sledgehammer.
Exactly. It was a tactical strike on her own past. The media went into an absolute frenzy. Critics called it a train wreck. People were just horrified on a national scale.
I remember Sinead O'Connor actually wrote an open letter to her around that time, basically warning her that she was being exploited. O'Connor said the industry was going to, quote-unquote, pimp her out and overshadow her actual musical talent with cheap controversy.
And O'Connor's concern was deeply rooted in the historical exploitation of young women in the music industry, which is obviously a very valid fear.
Absolutely.
But the sources indicate Miley was fully aware of the transaction she was making. She was harnessing that public outrage to fuel her chart success. Bangerz debuted at #1. MTV named her Artist of the Year.
She just rode the wave of the backlash.
Right. She took the immense heat because she knew it came with structural power.
That makes what she did the following year so much more interesting, because in 2014, she's back at the VMAs. And the sources note she wins Video of the Year for Wrecking Ball, which was actually her first Billboard Hot 100 #1 single.
A huge milestone.
Right, and the entire world is watching, just waiting to see what outrageous thing she does next. But she doesn't talk.
Yeah.
She actually sends a 22-year-old homeless youth named Jesse to the stage to accept the award on her behalf.
It was a brilliant subversion of the media narrative. They expected a clown, and she delivered this deeply sobering public service announcement about youth homelessness. She used the massive spotlight she bought with controversy to illuminate an invisible crisis.
It's just genius. But once you shatter the mold like that, what do you even do next? You can't keep shocking people forever. The law of diminishing returns kicks in.
Exactly. You have to prove that beneath all the spectacle, there's a foundational, undeniable talent. And her vocal instrument is incredibly unique.
It really is.
She possesses this raspy mezzo-soprano voice with that distinct Nashville twang. It's incredibly versatile, which is what allowed her to become a true musical chameleon over the next several years.
We really see her jump across genres in a way that would normally give record label executives a complete heart attack.
Oh, yeah.
Like, she releases Miley Cyrus and Her Dead Pets in 2015, which is this psychedelic, highly experimental pop album that she just drops for free on SoundCloud.
Super risky move.
Yeah, and then in 2017, she pivots to an album called Younger Now, which has this very rootsy country-influenced sound. And then come 2020, she does a complete 180 into heavy rock and roll with Plastic Hearts.
The genre hopping wasn't just artistic restlessness, though. It actually reflected some profound personal turbulence during the late 2010s. This period was marked by immense loss and just forced growth.
The sources outline a truly brutal stretch of time for her here. In 2018, she and Liam Hemsworth lost their Malibu home in the devastating Woolsey fire.
Right, and losing a home to a wildfire isn't just losing a physical building. It is the instantaneous erasure of your history.
It's heartbreaking.
Your journals, your instruments, your master recordings, personal photos, all gone overnight. She actually married Hemsworth shortly after that, almost as a trauma response, just a way to hold on to something solid in the ashes. But the relationship ultimately ended in divorce by 2020.
And as if that wasn't enough, she had to undergo vocal cord surgery in late 2019. For a singer who relies entirely on their instrument to make a living, that has to be the ultimate nightmare.
It threatens your core identity and your livelihood.
Yeah.
But the medical procedure itself actually forced a really fascinating psychological reset.
Really? How so?
Well, post-surgery, she was required to remain completely silent for weeks to allow the delicate tissue to heal.
I mean, how do you go from being the loudest pop star on earth to total silence? And the sources mention this surgery led to her getting sober.
Yes.
How does throat surgery lead to sobriety? I feel like the stress of that would make someone want to self-medicate even more.
You'd think so, but that's the psychological mechanism at play. Recovery required absolute stillness. No talking, no coughing, no laughing.
Wow.
And alcohol and cannabis use can cause inflammation, acid reflux, or coughing fits, which would literally tear the healing vocal tissue and permanently ruin her voice.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so when you're forced to halt the constant touring and the promotional machine, when you physically cannot speak, you are forced into deep introspection. She credited that period of forced vocal rest as the catalyst for her sobriety. It gave her the space to protect her instrument and her mind.
Think about the sheer resilience that takes. I mean, to reinvent yourself after your house burns down, your marriage collapses, and your literal voice is threatened.
It's incredible.
And doing all of that while millions of people are watching. And let's be honest, a good portion of the internet is just waiting for you to fail.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But the crucible of those difficult years really set the stage for her metamorphosis in 2023. The endless summer vacation era.
Oh man, when the single Flowers drops, it feels like everyone on the planet heard that song at some point.
It was everywhere.
How did it get so astronomically huge?
It tapped into a universal feeling of self-reliance, and musically it was incredibly mature. It became the best-selling single of the entire year globally. It shattered streaming records and cemented her transition from a controversial figure to an undeniable legacy artist. It also earned her first 2 Grammy Awards, including Record of the Year.
It's wild that it took until 2023 for her to win a Grammy, given how long she's dominated pop culture. But she didn't just coast on that success, did she?
Not at all. By 2025, she pushed the envelope again with her 9th studio album, Something Beautiful.
I was actually looking at the notes on this one. Critics called it a pop opera.
Yes, a pop opera.
What does that even mean in this context?
It represents a shift from personal catharsis to cultural commentary. She describes Something Beautiful as an attempt to medicate a quote-unquote sick culture.
That's heavy.
She wasn't just writing breakup anthems anymore. She was producing ambitious, progressive pop records designed to heal. She even debuted a visual companion film for it at the Tribeca Festival, showing a level of artistic mastery that proved she wasn't just surviving the industry anymore, she was directing it.
Her personal life seemed to mirror that healing era, too. In late 2025, she gets engaged to Max Morando, a producer she actually collaborated with on Endless Summer Vacation. And then, in May 2026, she finally gets her star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
A very well-deserved recognition, I'd say. But perhaps the most profound part of this recent era is the thematic resolution of the conflict we discussed at the very beginning of the deep dive.
The war with Disney.
Yes. For over a decade, she had to distance herself from Hannah Montana, sometimes violently, just to be taken seriously as an autonomous adult. But in March 2026, Disney Plus aired the Hannah Montana 20th anniversary special. And she didn't ignore it.
Right.
She executive produced it.
That is a massive shift. I mean, to go from burning the house down to returning as the executive producer.
And during the special, she performed a brand new track called Younger You. It's basically an open letter to her teenage self, finally embracing the girl she used to be. She recognized that the Disney era wasn't just a trap, it was the foundation of the empire she ultimately built.
It's like she finally looked at the factory that produced her, realized she held the deed, and just decided to forgive the machinery.
Exactly.
But I have to ask, throughout all this, the country phases, the hip-hop phases, the rock phases, is there a core through line? Because a cynic might just see a very talented shapeshifter who knows how to game the algorithm and chase trends.
The through line is a fierce, uncompromising authenticity regarding her personal identity and her philanthropy. She isn't adopting causes for good PR. These issues are deeply personal to her. She actually came out to her mother when she was just 14 years old, while still in the absolute epicenter of the conservative Disney machine.
That is incredibly brave given the nature of that company at the time.
It really is. Today, she openly identifies as pansexual and gender fluid. She has stated she doesn't relate strictly to being a boy or a girl, and her partner doesn't have to fit into those boxes either. She just loves who she loves, and she weaponized her massive platform to protect people facing similar identity struggles.
That brings us back to the Happy Hippie Foundation, which she founded in 2014. We saw a glimpse of that when Jessie accepted her VMA.
Right, and it wasn't a one-off stunt for the cameras. Happy Hippie provides ongoing structural support to homeless youth, LGBTQ youth, and vulnerable populations. Furthermore, her philanthropy just extends outward constantly. She's donated millions to the Make-A-Wish Foundation, the Elton John AIDS Foundation. And when the Woolsey fire destroyed her own community, her foundation immediately donated $500,000 to local relief efforts.
Wow.
Despite this wild, untamable public image, she has continually used her platform to protect the vulnerable.
She absolutely refuses to be pigeonholed.
Which brings us all the way back to the hospital in Franklin, Tennessee in 1992. Her parents named her Destiny Hope. And looking at the full scope of her career, she really fulfilled the prophecy of that name. But she simply refused to do it by being the compliant, sanitized pop princess the industry demanded. She achieved it by being messy, provocative, and boundlessly adaptable.
So, as you go about your day, I want to leave you with something to consider. Think about the landscape of child stars in our culture. Think about how many were fundamentally broken by the sheer crushing pressure of being a corporate asset before they could even drive a car. When we look at Miley Cyrus, maybe her greatest masterpiece isn't the shock of the Wrecking Ball video. It isn't the Grammy-winning triumph of Flowers or the ambition of a pop opera like Something Beautiful. What if her true masterpiece is simply her own survival? She took the exact machine designed to consume her, dismantled it gear by gear, and used the scrap metal to build an empire on her own terms. Thanks for listening to Bill Pod. Keep tuning in for more stories worth knowing.